clients ask what they should expect when they go to their first immigration court hearing. Some people are apprehensive. They're concerned that they might be ordered deported or arrested or handcuffed at the hearing and taken away and deported, but that's just not what happens. What normally happens at the first immigration hearing is you arrive at the courtroom and you would typically notice dozens of other people all scheduled for hearings at the same time as you. Now, this may vary in different parts of the country, so I'm just going to give the general idea of what happens at most courts that I've been to. So you arrive at the court, and if you're represented by a lawyer, typically the lawyer will sign in when they get there, and the judge will call all the cases first based on who's represented by a lawyer. If you're not represented by a lawyer, then usually you'll be sitting there for an hour or two or even longer. But if you're represented by an attorney, the attorney, when the case is called, the attorney will go with you in front of the judge, and you'll normally be sitting at a table. And the purpose of that first hearing is for the judge to find out what the case is about and whether you admit the charges against you. In most cases, at this first hearing, the lawyer will say that the charges are all admitted and that the client consents to the deportation charge. And then the judge will then go and say that I find you deportable. The judge will ask what country you would like to be deported to if they ever have to actually deport you. And you'll provide the name of that country, or normally the lawyer will say your home country. Then the judge will ask the attorney what relief does the client want to apply for. By relief, that means on what basis can the judge allow you to live legally in the United States. So the first part of the hearing, the judge establishes that the charges are correct and that you agree with those charges. And then once the judge establishes that, the judge then goes on to what is the relief, asking your attorney, what's the game plan? How do you plan to proceed with this case? Once the lawyer explains that, the judge will then provide some deadlines, perhaps to file applications, and the judge will also reset the case for another hearing date or perhaps for a trial. Depending on where you are in the country, in some cities that reset of the hearing will be 3 years from now. In places like Houston or Miami, that reset will typically be in about a year for the trial of the case. So that's what happens at the first hearing. You go in there, the attorney responds to the judge. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. And then the judge will reset the hearing for another date. And that's basically it. So you're in and out rather quickly. If you don't speak English, the court will provide an interpreter. And at the very end of the hearing, the judge will read you some warnings, basically telling you need to make sure you come to the next hearing. If you don't show up at the next hearing, you could be ordered deported. And that's basically what happens. So it's generally nothing to fear. And the bottom line is that the judge will be resetting the case, typically, for another date. Another alternative that I will mention is, what if you go into the hearing without a lawyer? That's also okay. And in many situations like that, you can just ask the judge to reset the case so you have additional time to find a lawyer. And many individuals will do that as well. In fact, some of them do it more than once. I don't recommend that because the judge takes note of it, and many times the judge will not reset it over and over again to find a lawyer. But certainly on a first time, the judge will normally reset the case.